Good day, everyone. My name is Anafani Madana, and today I'll be doing a PSM1 proposal slide, correction one from the previous one. And the topic of my title is Comparative Study on the Performance of Sequential and Non-Sequential Deep Learning Model Phishing Email Detection. So the thing that we'll talk about in this is a problem statement, and then what's the solution that I'm proposing, the justification algorithm, and the chosen data set. This is the newly added section from the previous video. Research question, the research objective, what is the gap for this research, the scope of this project, and last but not least, the project requirement. So the starting off with the problem statement, you have to understand that a few things we outline here. The first is the ineffectiveness of traditional method. So now the threat actors can utilize AI and generate emails that contain phishing content, may perhaps spoof the domain of the email and obfuscate the content of the message. Basically, the traditional method oftentimes falls short when it comes to detecting phishing email. Next thing is there's the financial implication. So we can see many times the financial implication of phishing attacks that happens to the world. One of the example is in 2018, the FBI we got a 100 million USD loss in compromised payroll database due to phishing attacks. Last but not least, we have a challenge in feature engineering. So a lot of the time when we apply machine learning, we apply a feature engineering, selected feature engineering. So that means we're using a selected keywords to do them, and we very reliant on an expert to carry out the phishing detection, which is something that it's okay to do, but we want to make sure that the system learn by itself over time, and not be too dependent on a third-party service, albeit a third-party service or an expert itself. So the proposed solution is that we're going to be using a deep learning model, two of them, four of them actually, LSTM, RNN, and MLP, and NFNN, and compare them with one another to see who's better at it, right? Um, so deep learning algorithms can often extract features automatically without really requiring much of human intervention compared to traditional method or machine learning. And the more promising approach in defense we take as deep learning instead of machine learning. This approach allows corporations and organization to continuously refine the defenses in dealing with phishing threats. Now, so there's a reason why we take this or we say algorithm or models. First is LSTM, long short-term memory. Well, it is very well known for processing a very complex problem, and where you don't want to tell it how to solve by themselves, and they can able to solve a very complex problem by themselves, without giving them too much of without teaching them so much about the problem itself. RNN is more like a quick tool that's been used to no I'm sorry RNN is popular in terms of NLP, natural language processing, video classification. They have this memory dependency, so that means they can understand, they can keep store in the memory of the previous word, previous text that been used, and they can use that to predict what's the next word or what's the next text, what's the next image can be, right? MLP is a very simplified form. It's very efficient in processing any static features that doesn't change over time, for example URL patterns, making it very ideal for real-time system. FNN FNN is just like another layer. It's just like MLP, but it's much more simpler. Instead of having multi-layer, it has a single layer. So again, it can also process like static features such as your URL patterns. This is the chosen data set. We have choose three data set, a mix of two balanced and one imbalance. The reason for it is because it's gonna make our system a bit more robust and much more flexible, because if you train everything on balance, then what if you put an imbalanced data set? Would it be able to perform? But if you put everything in balance, can it perform on the balanced data set? So I think it's a bit fair that we try with a mixed bag of both. So these are the things that we use. All these have been taken from Kaggle. The link also provided in the proposal itself. So what are the research questions that we want to talk about? The first is, what is the current existing landscape of phishing email detection, and how effective are they in detecting phishing emails? The second is, how can email dataset be pre-processed effectively before model to train to enhance deep learning model performance? And thirdly, how can deep learning model be trained using a publicly available phishing email dataset repository such as GitHub or Kaggle? How, and for our last but not least, how do different deep learning models compare with one another in phishing email detection, based on key metrics such as accuracy, precision, required effort score, and efficiency metrics such as time processing and resource utilization. The objective of this project is to conduct a very comprehensive literature review on phishing email detection mechanisms, specifically highlighting the effectiveness in detecting phishing emails, to conduct the pre-processing email datasets such as tokenization and cleaning from both email content and metadata in preparation for the model training. To develop and train chosen deep learning models using publicly available phishing dataset taken from public repository and evaluate their detection accuracy and effectiveness. Lastly, we want to perform analysis and comparison between deep learning algorithm on a few key metrics such as precision, accuracy, recall, and F1 score, as well as efficiency metrics such as processing, time processing, and resource utilization. Now, the research gap that exists that I study for is that there's been a lot of comparison study of deep learning model when it comes to phishing. Sometimes it can be phishing website, sometimes it can be like a phishing link, not necessarily phishing email. But if you take phishing as a whole, the more common study they done is more like supervised, unsupervised, and hybrid. They take these three and they go head to head with one another. If they don't compare, most likely they're gonna do an analysis. They'll do analysis of, for example, LSTM on phishing website. Just take one model and just on one specific phishing and then just analyze it as far as best as they could. So there's only two things: comparison and analysis. But so far there remains gap in understanding how sequential and non-sequential deep learning models perform against one another, especially in the context of phishing email detection. Now, the project scope will focus mainly on four deep learning algorithms, which are LSTM, RNN, LLP, and FNN. This research does not develop a full-fledged phishing detection system, but rather focus more on analyzing and comparing the performance of each model throughout the experiments. This is the hardware software. We will be using the PyTorch and PSC Google Lab. The technique that the algorithm we're using is LSTM, RNN, MLP, FNN using TensorFlow. Network element is mostly electronic mail, email protocol, and maybe SMTP protocol, understanding how SMTP protocol works. And last but not least, the project area is actually security phishing. So with that, I think that is all I can give you for this proposal. Actually, it's kind of proposal correction. So yeah, I think I'll see you again in the next video. Thank you so much. Thank you.